How's it going, YouTube? Blaine here for Bridgeport Games, and as you guys know, Series 8 is right around the corner. It's going to be picking up for VGC on February 1st, which means all of these restricted Pokemon that you see here are now legal. Now, the main difference between previous years and this year is that instead of having two allowed, we only have one allowed this time, which is quite a bit different than in previous years. So, what we're going to go ahead and do is actually rank them in how good they are likely to be for VGC, and we'll go ahead and figure out, kind of what you're going to be seeing a lot of based on these power levels. So we're just going to go through each mon, talk about them real quick, get them in our tier maker here, and then see where we're at. So my tier maker is a little different. I'm not doing S, A, B, C, and D or anything like that. The way I define mons is S tier for me really consists of a format defining Pokemon. So one that people will be bringing specific answers for, and they're going to be so common answers that they end up becoming a metagame staple themselves. A tier is a good mon that is, a very good threat, very strong, very powerful, maybe not format defining, but still incredibly good. B is similar to, a little bit below that. They can still be very, very powerful. I mean, look, all these Pokemon are powerful. They're just very, very strong, very, very powerful still. But B tier is a little less good than A. C is mons that you're probably not going to be bringing all the time, or mons that you're not going to see all the time, or just mons are in a kind of weird position because the way Gen 8 works, there are a few of those that the loss of things like megas and the loss of the red and blue orb and things like that have made some mons a little bit less good. So we'll talk about those. And no means do not play these mons. If you play them, you will not win, which is why they are in the no category. So I hate to be so blunt about that, but it is what it is here. All right, guys. So yeah, let's just get started in here with Mewtwo. So Mewtwo, obviously it's the first restricted Pokemon from Gen 1. We're going to just take a look at it real quick in the system here and see what moves it gets. So it has a very good special attack stat of 154, 130 speed, also good. It does tie with some other kind of common mons who are fast, but still good, still good. It does get Expanding Force. In my mind, any Expanding Force mon deserves a pretty high spot because it's just such a stupidly strong ability. It gets Foul Play, like Ice Beam, just pretty much everything you could want, really. Just it has insane coverage moves, which is just so strong. Solar Beam, Trick Room. Yeah, this thing has pretty much everything. Historically, he's not been good, and I don't really think that he's going to be much better here. Mainly just because Dark is going to be very prevalent because of some of the mons we're going to see later on down the line. So because of that, I'm going to put him right in the B tier here. Again, he probably has the power level to be in the A tier, but I don't think in this VGC he's going to get there. Lugia is kind of in a similar thing here. It's got Psychic again. Does Lugia get Expanding Force? I feel like that's going to be a handicap for a lot of mons here. If they normally wouldn't be in a higher tier, they are if they have Expanding Force. So here's the thing. First off, it does not get Expanding Force, and also realizing it wouldn't matter because it's flying type, so the Psychic Terrain doesn't count. So, I mean, it still has multi-scale, and it can Dynamax. Okay, I don't know, man. I think you're down here. I'm sorry, bud. Ho has Regenerator now, because of the ability patch, which is pretty good. It's got some decently strong, stab moves. I think Ho deserves a shot to be in the B tier. It's not amazing. I don't expect to see this thing winning Worlds, but then again, I don't expect Mewtwo to win Worlds either. But it does have some just really good moves. It's got Dual Wing Beat, which is solid. It's got Earthquake, a pretty good attack stat, 130, and then a special defense stat of 154. Like, it can take some hits, Homeboy's strong here, so we're going to leave him there. Kyogre is a format-defining Pokemon. Bottom line, this thing is one of the most powerful Pokemon we have. The sheer fact that this exists means Rillaboom is going to be huge. Regieleki is going to be huge. You're going to probably see an answer to Kyogre on almost every team. And if they don't have one, they're going to lose to it because that's just how it is. I wish the prognosis was better for the meta, but Kyogre has always been a format defining Pokemon. He always will be a format defining Pokemon, and that's just kind of how it is. Groudon is C tier now. Unfortunately, he lost a lot by losing Red Orb. You know, he's still good. He's still Groudon. He's still a Sunsetter, but the issues you're going to run into here. Um, so first things first. No, we do not want that Kyogre. We want this Kyogre. So the first issue you're going to have here, guys, is he speed ties with Kyogre. So if you want to put any speed on Groudon to make him a good threat, he's risking losing the Weather War. And he is immediately nuked by Kyogre if the rain is up, and he's almost nuked by Kyogre anyway if the sun is up. He's got 150 attack, which is insane, and he's got Precipice Blades. The issue is when you want a weather setter, you want something slow like Torkoal, you're going to win the Weather War. Because Red Orb is gone, special sets are just not viable anymore. He's probably going to struggle getting KOs on Incineroar after an Intimidate. He's a really good Mon still, but like he's just not what he once was. I mean, he does have Swords Dance, so you can do things with that. But in my mind, he's just really not what he once was. And unfortunately, Rayquaza has the same problem. It's got some very, very strong moves, which is fantastically good. But unfortunately, it's really just not there anymore. Ice Beams are going to be a huge issue for Rayquaza, and Airlock doesn't really matter much because the only weather you're trying to really stop is like sun and rain. Rain, Kyogre doesn't really need the boost as much to pick up KOs. It's so strong anyways. And sun, all you're going to be doing is making fire moves a little less strong and slowing down Venusaur, which there's better ways to just do that. So unfortunately, Rayquaza just kind of isn't there anymore. The only good saving grace for him is he does still have Dragon Ascent now as a normal flying move, so he's not forced to have his Mega form, which is it's pretty good, but it's still not enough to kind of redeem the whole system here. Palkia, I actually really like. I'm going to put him in B tier. He's got a good typing in Water Dragon. He's just a solid mon to have around. He really suffers, though, from not having a second legendary to go with, a second restricted to go with, because him with Kyogre has been insane in the past. James Beck using it. But yeah, unfortunately, he's just not quite there. Let's take a look at his spreads real quick. So he does have very good natural bulk, 100 speed, decent HP, and 150 special attack. So right off the bat, he's got a very good, set of stats that we're looking at here. So he's got like Draco Meteor, he's got Earth Power, Flamethrower, which no, Ice Beam. He's got Spatial Rend if you want to go there. He has a lot of really good support moves and just a lot of very good attacks too. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be like A tier, but he definitely has the potential to do some stuff in this format, especially because Max Wormwind is a pretty good max move, and with its natural bulk, Dynamaxing is definitely going to help. So it's pretty good. I think Dialga is not format defining, but it definitely has the potential to be an A tier mon. So if we look up Dialga here, so Dialga, very similar to Palkia, has 150 base special attack, very good HP, very good bulk, all that good stuff. However, it has some other things going for it here. So it's got Draco Meteor, it's got Earth Power, same coverage things, but it also has Flash Cannon. Now, the reason I'm really interested in Dialga, it has access to arguably 3 of the best max moves that are available out there. It's got Max Wormwind, Max Quake, and Max Steel Spike. So it can lower the opponent's attack, and it can raise its own defense and special defense with max moves. It also has stuff like Breaking Swipe to lower them further. It's got Bulldoze, so it can potentially do some weakness policy stuff. I think this Pokemon's quite good. In the past, I know like it's weak to fighting, and fighting is a very common type right now. I get it. But Dialga is still a pretty good mon, and it's definitely a threat. You don't need to necessarily bring a Dialga answer on every team, but I think it's pretty darn good. So let's go ahead and hop over to Giratina here. Both forms are C tier, and for different reasons. All right, so if we go ahead and pull up Giratina, so the options you have are you can go with the bulkier, normal form that has 150 HP, 100 in both attacks, 120 in both defenses rather. Um, and the issue here, it's kind of that it's a similar issue to a couple of the other legendaries, and that it just doesn't really have quite what it needs to function. So it's got like Shadow Ball, Shadow Claw, so you can go a couple different versions on this thing, but really its typing is not that great. Again, being weak to Dark in this format is a very large hindrance, and Dragon is a type that can get walled pretty easily right now because Steel types and Fairy types are very, very common and very, very prevalent. And the issue is you need the secondary typing to Dragon to help you punch through whatever that typing is. So if you look at something like the other Dragon Ghost, Dragapult, he's a physical mon with great stats, great speed. He's able to punch through a lot of those threats that come up, and he also can be a support set, etc. Giratina, particularly this one, is much better designed for stall options. Um, particularly just because he has such good bulk, and stall really is not typically a way where mons work in VGC. Typically, that's something you'd see in singles, like how Toxapex, if you look, is dominating singles to the point of being banned into Ubers again. And Giratina has had a similar thing going on for most of its tenure, but it's just not there in doubles because it can't really take being doubled up on. If you look at Giratina O, similar situation here. It's got 120 in both attacking stats, which isn't insane. It's decent. And it's got 150 base HP, just like the other form does. It's got the same move pool, obviously. It's got some interesting moves. I mean, it has dual wing beat for like max fly, but unfortunately, again, Dragon Bolt does what it does better and can have an item. And the fact that it loses an item to have Greasius Orb is just, it's not worth it. So he's C tier. Again, these are all good mons, but they just don't really function the way you need them to in VGC, which is honestly kind of unfortunate. So let's go ahead and jump over to Reshiram now. Reshiram. So it used to have Tailwind, which it lost, which is a pretty big problem. It still has respectable stats, 150 special attack, and it's got a lot of bulk, which is really, really nice. It's got Flare Blitz, which, if it was physical, that would be better. So it's got pretty much going to be stuck with Flamethrower or Fire Blast if you're feeling lucky. It's got screens. Yeah, it's not terrible, although it really doesn't want to take ground moves, which are also very prevalent right now. Because of the fire typing, it does resist Behemoth Blade, which is very, very nice. But unfortunately, yeah, it's not insane. I'm gonna make a hot call and put this thing in B. I think it has potential, but again, not great. You're probably not going to see a ton of it. Let's look at his buddy Zekrom. Truth and Ideals going on here. So Zekrom has 150 attack, which is great. It's gotten some moves that it's able to use. So okay, let's take a look real quick. It gets Dragon Dance, which is its one big like gimmick. It's Dragon Electric, which is a pretty reasonable typing. It has a lot of resists and only a couple weaknesses, but they are common weaknesses, which are a bit of an issue. So in terms of physical moves now, it gets Dragon Claw still. Let's see. It's got Fusion Bolt and Bolt Strike, so you can go either one if you really want. Outrage, but also has Dragon Claw, so you're probably not going to use Outrage. And yeah, it's just got very, very average moves. Good stabs and then like a couple coverage moves on the side, like most legendaries do. Again, it's not bad. It's got reasonable typing. It doesn't resist Behemoth Blade and doesn't really have a lot of options to handle Zacian too well. Um, I think Zekrom has to go down here um, in C, down with Giratina. He's just not quite up to what Reshiram just happens to bring to the table. Um, so now we got to talk about the next several mons here. Are all going to have something in common. So I'm actually going to skip ahead, and we're going to put Zacian um, in the format defining Pokemon rank. And the reason is because he is going to shape everything in this meta. Zacian is unbelievably strong. We need to pull him up real quick just to take a look at this. Uh, so Zacian Crowned is going to be the most common version you're going to see. So it has 170 attack, 170. And on top of that, it has 115 in both defenses, 148 speed. Now, you have to lose your item to get, your Rusted Sword. But the thing is that Rusted Sword gives it this form with these stats, and then it has Intrepid Sword, which gives it a +1 attack. Now, I actually was just curious on what the base stat would be if you took the +1 attack and converted it back down to a base stat. It's higher than 255. It's a higher effective base stat than exists in the game, which is pretty unprecedented for Pokemon, which is why this thing is so scary. And if you pair this thing with a Weezing, it can keep activating Intrepid Sword over and over again. So it's just broken. Now, as far as coverage moves, it's got Behemoth Blade, Close Combat, Crunch. Doesn't matter. It's not going to use it even though it's insane. Ice Fang, Iron Head, which is it becomes Behemoth Blade. Play Rough, Psychic Fang, so it can get rid of screens. Sacred Sword, Wild Charge. It's got Giga Impact if you really want to lower speed. Man, this mon, it has Thunderfang, Solar Blade. So the bottom line is this thing is stacked. It has every move you want. And the fact that it is so fast, hits so hard, and is bulky really is going to move the format in certain directions to handle this thing. Even Incineroar can reduce it by 1 to neutral, and it can still just come back and just murder Incineroar no problem. So it is probably the most format defining Pokemon if I wanted to give it like a format defining S plus tier. I would say Zacian may be actually higher than Kyogre in terms of that. Now, why did I do that? The mere fact that this exists is going to push everything else down. So, Kyurem was going to go there anyways. He's just not good right now. Kyurem Black and Kyurem White, right? They are both Dragon Ice type. Now, we were talking before about how Dragon needs to be paired with an Ice type to really work. And here's the issue. They're all Dragon Ice, which means they are all weak to Behemoth Blade. And at most, they have 100 defense or 90 defense in the case of Kyurem White. I realize they ignore the abilities when they're attacking. However, they just cannot take the liability that exists for what's out there right now with Zacian. These are very strong mons in and of themselves. They are just fantastic in that 170 attack. I mean, that's insane. And then you look at Kyurem White, 170 special attack. These mons are both very good. And because this exists, they are unplayable or very close to it. So they're all C tier. They're not no, because if you can figure out a really good way to contain this, they're usable. And I use the word usable and not good for that reason. So bring something else. I don't want to ever have to really say that, but you're just not going to get the good results you want with these, unfortunately. Yveltal is... I'm going to put Yveltal in the A tier. It is extremely good. I don't feel like it's a very format-defining Pokemon. I feel like it is definitely a Pokemon you're going to see because it is extremely good. The reasoning is because its type is fantastic right now. Flying type and Dark type there's a lot of ways to cover those weaknesses right now, and the dark type gives you so many options to help deal with some things that come later down this line. So Yveltal has always been good. He's going to be great now, and he pairs up really well. I was on one of our streams, we put him with Galarian Moltres. The nonsense you can do with Dark Aura plus Fire Wrath is ridiculous, and it is going to be amazing. Xerneas. Xerneas is, in almost every format, it would be here. It would be right alongside Kyogre because it is a format defining Pokemon usually. This year, it's A tier. And the reason why is because Zacian exists. And Xerneas cannot, on its best day, take a Behemoth Blade. Ever. Let's actually look up real quick. And let's just pull up real quick just for laughs. Zacian crowned. We'll go with the Uber Swords Dance. Doesn't really matter. I just want the Behemoth Blade. So we're going to go to 50. And we'll pull up Xerneas. And we'll go with the Geomancy version. Again, doesn't really matter. Just for laughs, I'm going to give this thing 252 HP and 252 defense. Zacian outspeeds an Okos. Now that is with its +1 boost. So now let's just say, again, that maybe it got intimidated. It's still doing, on this unrealistic set, 72 to 87% of its HP. Now let's just go back to a state of realism here, if we will. Even at neutral, so intimidated, it still is a guaranteed Oko on Xerneas. Like, Xerneas has been the bane of every format for as long as it's existed. And it can't really do anything to Zacian. So it's still great. If you can contain Zacian, Xerneas is still going to be the same thing it's always been. Geomancy, Power, or make people cry. But the fact that this exists, it makes it unable to be a format-defining Pokemon, in my opinion. All right, let's talk Zygarde real quick. Oh yeah, so Zygarde, shoutouts to a guy I was talking with in the VGC group on Facebook, Justin Jenkins. He is trying to make Zygarde work. Here's the thing, guys. Zygarde, it is a C tier mon. It has a lot of problems right now. It's not terrible. It's really not a terrible mon. So here's the thing. Zygarde is very weak to ice, and the big problem it has going for it is that by being weak to ice, it means it's weak to Kyogre. And Kyogre is everywhere, and all Kyogres have to carry Ice Beams right now to deal with Rillaboom. So, unfortunately, that's something really big he suffers from, and his former best friend, Tapu Fini, no longer has the ability Swagger to help make him as powerful as he can be. Some other options are like coaching, but there's not really any good coaching mons that can help him build up after he's transformed into complete. And Comfy is certainly an option with like Draining Kiss Weakness Policy, which also Justin was talking about doing. But again, Incineroar can come in, intimidate him, cycle intimidates with like Parting Shot, and it's a little bit of a problem. I still think it's a very good mon. If you Dynamax this thing, it has some of the highest HP around, and gets like 1,000 Arrows and some other stuff, and it has Dragon Dance and some other options. I think it has the potential to go up here one day, if it can work around some of the issues it's got. But right now, for, where we are now, it's going to stay here in C tier until some trainer comes along and makes it go higher. Cosmog and Cosmoem are no. You don't want to use these guys competitively. Cosmoem has some of the heaviest weight in the game, so I suppose if you had a heavy slam, you could do something with that, but no. These guys are no. Yes, it's Nebby. He's precious, and yes, Nebby is in a cocoon of transformation here. They're cool. They're cute. I like them as Pokemon. Don't bring them in any competitive events unless you don't want to win. All right, so let's go ahead and look at Gen 7 now. We're going to look at Solgaleo and Lunala. Solgaleo is a very good Pokemon. I think it's A tier. So Solgaleo is Psychic Steel, and it's got Full Metal Body, which prevents it from having its stats lowered, which is quite nice in this particular format. Its offensive stats are a little lacking compared to some of the other ones, but that's okay because it does have a good typing, particularly for activating a weakness policy. So you pair it up with a Bulldoze mon, it can do quite a lot of damage. Again, Full Metal Body is very, very nice. It's a good typing that allows you to do quite a lot. Let's take a look at its moves too. It's got CC, Crunch, it gets Expanding Force, Flare Blitz. I got Heat Crash now. That's interesting. I don't think it's particularly heavy though. I would have to look that up. It's got Iron Head. It's got Outrage because reasons. Psychic Fangs, Steel Roller. That's actually pretty interesting. I get Zen Headbutt. So it's just a very good typing, and it's very good situated in the meta, I think, to be able to do some damage. So I think Solgaleo definitely deserves a spot here. Lunala. Let's look up Lunala. So Lunala, if I'm not mistaken, lost Tailwind. Yeah, it did. Lunala lost Tailwind. It still has Shadow Shield, which is great. It's basically multi-scale. It's got Calm Mind, Dazzling Gleam. It gets Expanding Force, which is great. That's actually one of the better things helping it right now. But I don't. It's got 97 speed. This thing really wants to be like some genre of Trick Room Mon based on the way its stats tend to work because it still has Trick Room but doesn't have Tailwind. And unfortunately, it just doesn't really work for it. And the fact that it has 87 defense, I don't believe this thing can really take much of a hit from a Urshifu, which I'm gonna look up real quick. Urshifu, let's go Choice Band. We're gonna be fair to it here because a lot of them do carry Band. And let's go Lunala. Okay, so it's got 252 HP. I don't think they would dump it into speed, but they might put it somewhere else. So let's put it down to 50 here. Through Shadow Shield, it is OHKOing with 252 HP. If it didn't have Shadow Shield, it would be dealing even more damage. Even if we go 252 defense and bold, it's still, if we're jolly on Urshifu, still is doing 96%. If it's adamant, it'll be an OHKO. Again, I don't like the fact that certain mons can keep other mons down, but the sheer fact that is a very likely scenario is going to keep this thing in C tier. And it's very much the same for their counterparts. This I don't believe can take it any better, but we're going to look real quick. Dawn Wings. We'll go Uber Trick Room. We probably should make it level 50. I think the 50 levels might help it a little bit. Yeah, look at that. Look at it, 211%. Like, if we look at, we talked about Mewtwo, so we're going to go to Necrozma. If we look at Dawn Wings, it does have Prism Armor, and it receives 3/4 damage, kind of like Solid Rock. It just isn't enough. Like, Urshifu, anything Psychic Ghost needs to really have a lot of redeeming factors to keep it in the game here, and these just really don't have it. So unfortunately, they both are C tier. Solgaleo, on the other hand, Duskmane Necrozma, I feel like he also has the potential to be A tier. He can use some weakness policy stuff. He's situated in a little bit better stats to handle kind of what's coming down the road for him in Urshifu. He still doesn't really want a Tango with him, but it's a little better. And he's got a lot better physical defense for this format, which is nice too, and 157 attack, which is really nice. His speed is also a little more favorable to allow him to be kind of either a Trick Room attacker or anything like that. If you tried to like proc a weakness policy with something like Bulldoze, that would allow you to make him slower and then be a better Trick Room attacker, which is probably the way you would go. But I think just giving his typing and given what he brings to the table, he's definitely a mon that deserves to be in the A tier range. And the fact that, again, he's able to resist Zacian, Solgaleo, able to resist Zacian. The fact that they are here, like, we're seeing kind of a common trend here. All the mons that can resist Zacian are A tier or have another purpose or are just one of the most broken things ever made. So there you go. Necrozma, you're good. You are not gonna be used, buddy. I'm sorry. I wish you could. I really wish you could, but you're kind of not there, buddy. Krozma, I know you don't want to go into C tier, but you're going. Okay. Zamazenta. Zamazenta. Let's take a look at Zamazenta. All right, so he's got some okay moves. He's got Behemoth Bash, close combat, but then he also has some support moves. He's got like screens. He's got coaching, which is actually interesting. Helping Hand, Safeguard, Snarl, Wide Guard. So he has a lot of Imprison. He's got a lot of moves you'd want to support Mon, but then he's got, you know, other moves that make him want to be like an attacker. And also, Fighting Steel is not quite as good as just Zacian. Again, I hate to keep coming back to that, but Zacian is going to be just a better pick 90% of the time. If we had two restricteds, he would have a chance. But right now, I I don't know if he's quite as badly situated as the rest of the C tier. I feel like he has the potential to be B tier, so we're gonna put him there for now. But he is like right on this line. He's on the B minus tier. We'll put it that way. Um, Eternatus is interesting. That's about all I can say about it right now. So here's the problem with Eternatus. He's got a couple phenomenal stats: 140 HP, 140 special attack, 130 speed. He's fast. He's strong. Wonderful. He has some moves though that don't quite cater to what he wants to do. It has like Dynamax Cannon. He's got some poison moves. But the problem is he's weak to psychic and weak to ground, which are both going to be pretty prevalent. And I would not be surprised if this thing just gets murdered by Kyogre every time. Um, I like it. I really wish it were better situated. I think unlike his buddy Zamazenta, he's going in C tier. And now the last thing we really need to talk about is Calyrex. Calyrex normal is no. And the reason why it just isn't, it's not good. I mean, it's funny because Calyrex, as soon as he gets on a horse, becomes unbelievable. He's got 80s across the board, so he suffers from type null syndrome, where he's got decent HP or one good stat, but then the rest of his stats are just kind of meh. He does get expanding force and a bunch of cool different grass and psychic moves. It doesn't matter. His stats are not good enough to be a competitive mon by himself. So sorry, but he has to chill with the Nebbies. And now we're on to the rider forms. These are some interesting choices I have to make here. I have seen so many people bringing Sucker Punch that I feel like Shadow Rider has to be considered to be a format defining Pokemon. And the reason why, it's incredibly fast, and the fact that it gets Astral Barrage plus Expanding Force is so devastatingly strong that you need to be prepared to handle this thing one way or another. It does have new toy syndrome, and like a lot of people are just kind of bringing it because it's neat, new, and cool. Still very strong. And then the question becomes Ice Rider Calyrex. I'll take a look at this guy up close here. Calyrex Ice. So stat wise, it has 165 attack, 150 and 130 in both defenses, and 100 HP. It also gets that ice move, which I'm trying to remember the name, Glacial Lance, and it hits both opponents for 130 stab. I don't believe he's format defining. He's definitely A tier. We saw what Glastrier can do by itself, and this is boosted now, which is insane. It's a very good mon. It's not perfect. It is faster than Galastria, which is actually really, really bad for it. But like these stats. And the other thing to consider is that when you look at both of them, they both get their nays, the Grim Nay and Chilling Nay, respectively. But they also, because of Calyrex, get Unnerve, and the opposing Pokemon can't eat berries. So, Citrus Berry, out. Damage reducing berries, out. Pinch berries, out. Like, that in and of itself is just such a amazingly strong, free, if you will, boost to just help dramatically. And, I really, really think that it's going to be a really format defining, not format defining, but very strong mon in the coming weeks, especially as we see Trick Room teams and the meta evolve. So that's pretty much my ranking here, guys. So the format defining Pokemon, as far as we see them, are Zacian, Kyogre, Calyrex, Shadow, and the other mons you're going to be seeing a lot are Solgaleo, Duskmane, Calyrex Ice, Xerneas, Yveltal, and possibly Dialga. The rest of them, you're probably not going to see as much, but do prepare for them. You're not going to see these. And if you do, enjoy your win. So, guys, that's all we got for you here. I hope this has given you guys some idea of what to bring in the coming weeks. I've actually built teams with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the top, what we're considering to be the top 9 mons here. So I think that's certainly a good place to start. And, by all means, please, this video is our opinion. So please, take whatever we say here with, some advisement, because we do know VGC pretty well, but certainly, you can have a differing opinion, and that's okay. We all have different opinions. This is just what we think is a pretty comprehensive breakdown of what's good, what's not so good, Nebby, and what we are going to use as our framework going forward in Series 8, because I need to come up with a Series 8 team for round 2 of the Players' Cup 3. So really, this is where I'm going to be looking and not down here. But again, if you want to build these teams, Justin Jenkins, man, make Zygarde work. I love that Pokemon. It looks like the White Tiger Zord turned green. Make it work. But as far as I'm concerned, that's not what I really want to work with right now. So anyways, guys, that's what we got for you. And please make sure you go check out our sponsor, trollandtoad.com. They're an amazing website that has everything you need for Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh!, any TCG you can possibly imagine. They've got it at some of the best prices, and they're always buying your cards too. And they offer a 35% trade-in bonus right now when you sell them your items. So make sure to do that. And then, guys, we will see you guys on the next Bridge 4 video. This weekend, we have me versus Tom for the semifinals of the Grookey Gang Draft League. And we also are going to be using all 6 of these teams that I made featuring these mons to face each other in a round-robin little event here as a primer for Series 8. So, guys, that's what I have for you. Thanks so much. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time here on Bridge 4 Games. Bye-bye.